Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nivishesha Sunyavadi Ashtatesha Harine Om Timidamas Indra Shalakai Chur Militam Smile Shri Gurudev Sukam Karoti Bhachari Ango Gayate Girim Tatkripa Maham Vande Shri So Atitaguna has asked me to speak mostly. We'll, anyway, we'll tag team a bit here. But since we have a little time, and we can begin, I suggest, by reflecting on the occasion that has brought us here, the incorporation of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. I'm reminded of the words of, I think it was Thomas Hopkins, was it, who visited here in the very early days, and saw on the window a signboard said, International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And here he was, one little storefront with a, I think the term ragtag is not inappropriate. Only a few of us, I think, here lived in that era. Rukmini Devi, Anuttama, you were in the 60s, you experienced a bit of that. I was noting some time ago, recently, I was thinking about the timing of Srila Prabhupada's arrival and how Krishna had been arranging things. It was the year after this, 60 years ago, that it's said that 100,000 or more young people descended on Haight-Ashbury. Were you there at that time? You were one of those? 68. You came in 68. Well, 67. 1967 was noted as the Summer of Love. 100,000 people, young people. You came in 60. I came in 68 to Haight-Ashbury. It's
already decadent.
It was already, yes. The crackheads on the street, the speed. But we did experience, the rainfall of dollar bills. I found that once or twice. There's that story of Malati and Shyamasunder not knowing where the rent would come, and then walking down the Haight and $100 bills start falling out of them. It was a wild time. But there was something in the air, something in the hearts of these young people thinking that we can create a new world. So to imagine from this small little storefront an international society, in Srila Prabhupada's eyes, it was already there. But to those who gathered here, it was another far-out thing that the Swami would do. Anuttama Prabhu and myself serve ISKCON globally today, trying to coordinate and stimulate this observance of the 60th anniversary of ISKCON, and next year, especially the 50th anniversary of Srila Prabhupada's Tirabhav And one of the things we've talked about and what I would like to focus on, and we'll share in that some stories and reflections, are the purposes of ISKCON. Now, I'd like to ask a question to begin. Raise your hand if you identify yourself as a member of ISKCON. Okay. Now, to be a member of ISKCON is a simple affair. There's no, sometimes people ask, when I ask this question, what does it mean to be a member of ISKCON? And I ask people, what do you have to do to be a member of ISKCON? And someone says, well, you have to follow the 4 regulative principles. You have to chant 16 rounds. And I tell them, no. There are lots of members of ISKCON that may try to do those things and may believe in those things, but fall short of them, but are still accepted as members. But there are 2 things that we all must do to qualify. And the first is that we practically support the purposes of ISKCON, the mission of ISKCON. So that means that it's very important for us to know what they are, to understand them. Now, the second is that we follow Prabhupada. He's the Acharya of ISKCON. He's the one who's given us the purposes, the mission of ISKCON. So I made it a personal commitment to memorize the purposes of ISKCON. I know the first one by heart. To systematically propagate spiritual knowledge to society at large, and to educate all people in the techniques of spiritual life, in order to correct the imbalance of values in life and achieve real unity and peace in the world. Now, in this first core purpose of our society, we find so many seeds to connect our own personal service to. There's systematic propagation. There's spiritual knowledge. There's techniques of spiritual life. There are the values. Understanding what should be the balance of values, because Prabhupada is speaking about how we have to balance our spiritual and, you could say, material is probably not the right word, but social and civic values to achieve peace. Quickly, I'll just read through the purposes of ISKCON. You told me half an hour, but that's half an hour from when, so I can tell.
It should be about 20 past.
20 past, so we got another 20 minutes. Okay, so we spoke of the first one. The second one is to propagate a consciousness of Krishna as it is revealed in the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Krishna consciousness. That's pretty simple. C, to bring the members of the society together with each other and nearer to Krishna. So here we are, executing, working, doing, following this purpose of ISKCON, coming together. Coming together for what purpose? To come nearer to Krishna, the prime entity, and thus to develop the idea within the members and humanity at large that each soul is part and parcel of the quality of Godhead, Krishna. So we're coming together here to come nearer to Krishna and to develop, as Srila Prabhupada says, the idea within the members, the idea, the understanding, the belief, the awareness, the idea within the members and humanity. Because what we do here, it has its ripple effects. That each soul, no matter what body they are in, male or female or Indian or American or any cow, we'll get to that. Each soul is part and parcel of Krishna. Then the next, to teach and encourage the Sankirtan movement, congregational chanting of the holy name of God as revealed in the teachings of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I'll speak a little bit my personal story that connects me with this. Then E, to erect for the members and for society at large a holy place of transcendental pastimes dedicated to the personality of Krishna, like 26-second. And then to bring the members closer together for the purpose of teaching a simpler and more natural way of life. And finally, with a view towards achieving the aforementioned purposes, to publish and distribute periodicals, magazines, books, and other writings. Now, I said we're going to be a little tag team. So, I'd like to ask Atitaguna if you could tell us, in connection to this to bring the members closer together for the purpose of teaching a simpler and more natural way of life. So, connected, and this is Mayapur. Tell us about your visit to Mayapur when you met Srila Prabhupada and you brought something for him and his response.
So, if you did Sankirtan, you were allowed to go to the Mayapur festival every year. So, I was able to do Sankirtan in 75 and 76. And so in 77, they said, oh, you can go to Mayapur. And I thought, everyone brings something for Srila Prabhupada, but I want to bring something special. And somebody suggested to me, bring him full cream powdered milk. And I'm like, what? You can get that anywhere. But I didn't know you couldn't in America and England. But in Australia, you could get full cream powdered milk anywhere. So,
Or in India.
or in
Couldn't
India.
get it.
Yeah. So, the ladies, 2 ladies at a time, from Australia were allowed to go and be in Srila Prabhupada's presence. So a couple of ladies went, and then one other lady and I, we were next in line, and I was feeling so embarrassed. Oh, full cream powdered milk that you can get anywhere. And so anyway, I did present it to Srila Prabhupada. I said, Srila Prabhupada, I would like you to take this full cream powdered milk from Australia. I'm presenting it to you, and I really want you to take it. And his eyes lit up, and I thought, my human birth has been worth it. To my spiritual master, his eyes lit up when I presented him something.
And
So
he said something about his, tell my servants to,
and then he said, oh, tell my servants to use this powdered milk in all my preparations. I really
All
want
my
that.
milk sweets. To make all my milk sweets.
To make all my milk sweets out of this.
And then he went on
And then,
speaking about.
yeah, and then he went on for about half an hour speaking about how wonderful is milk for the devotees and for everyone. How we just take it for granted, but no, it's a wonderful substance, and it goes, especially when it's heated up and offered to Krishna. It goes to the brain cells. It goes to the brain cells and enlightens them.
I'll say something. And
You guys are awesome.
so I have a story that relates to the Sankirtan. But before, I want to tell one story from Mayapur, because this was to bring the members closer together to teach a simpler, more natural way of life. So Srila Prabhupada, in that exchange with you, was bringing out the wonders of the cows and the wonders of milk and all these simpler, more natural. And where? In Mayapur. And Mayapur's whole purpose is to bring devotees closer together. Maybe some of us think we're too close together in Mayapur these days. Buildings have been built on top of each other, but still, and that not so simpler and natural. That's the real thing. But so when I served here in New York from 1971 to 1976, I went to. We had just acquired the 340 West 55th Street property. And I was very busy doing all that, and so I was supposed to come back. I was supposed to do a lot of management, but in order to facilitate the devotees going to the festival, I went early so I could get my India, battery charge. So I went to Mayapur before the festival began, and when I arrived, I was enlisted. I was recruited to help organize the festival. So when the devotees came from New York, we had a new GBC. Madhavisa was coming in. He was exchanging with Rukmini was going to Australia. Madhavisa was coming. He was taking over New York, and they asked the Bhavananda and Gargamuni and Jagataka Maharajas. They asked if I could stay there because I had already started taking on responsibilities. Madhavisa said, we have to ask Prabhupada. So as I recall, we went in to his quarters, and Srila Prabhupada was, you could say, and here we have Srila Prabhupada, one of the most beautiful expressions, I feel, that I've seen in the Murti. Just so combination of peace and happiness and bliss. But he was a little upset when we met him. Something had happened in India, and that upset him in politics, or not in something like that. So he made this comment. He said, we can't expect the whole world to be Krishna conscious, but there should be one ideal place. So he didn't say it, but I took it that he meant Mayapur. That Mayapur, Sri Mayapur Dham, should be an ideal place, a place that could demonstrate this purpose, to bring the members closer together for the purpose of teaching a simpler and more natural way. But the other part of that conversation was that Madhavisa began saying, Srila Prabhupada, we understand that Mayapur is your most important project. And Srila Prabhupada said, no, New York is my most important project. So all of you here in New York City, remember that. I heard it, and I know that I heard it because I said it 2 years later when they were doing the Lilamrita, and it's written down. But it wasn't recorded. But here in New York, in 1972, just a nice little story related to the teaching and encouraging the Sankirtan movement. Congregational chanting of the holy name of God is revealed in the teachings of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, as we all know, we just did it here. Kirtan is the core of our movement. Kirtan is what began, how our movement began 539 years? No, 38 years. 538 years ago, with the appearance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Kirtan is how the movement entered into America. It was Kirtan here in 26 Second Avenue that captured the devotees. And that Kirtan continues. In 1972, I acquired video equipment it's a new thing. You know, now you have a little phone and you can do 4K HD video, but this, perhaps some of you have seen the black and white recordings of Prabhupada's lectures online. So this was a machine about the size of this table, reel-to-reel, half-inch tape, and this big old camera. But it had this amazing quality of being silent. So I could record Prabhupada in his lecture without any disturbance, because he was disturbed by the click-click of cameras and the click-click of a 16 millimeter or whatever. But this was silent. So I sat there zooming in and out, trying to catch his mudras. And at the end of his talk, there was kirtan. And the kirtan was so lively. And at one point, Srila Prabhupada took over the leading of the kirtan, which he did from time to time. That happened also in New Vrindavan at the Bhagavad Dharma discourse, I remember. So I was recording all of this, and then at the afterwards, later in the morning, I brought it, set it up in front of Srila Prabhupada to show him this new technology. And as he was watching, I was watching him, watching the TV. When it came to the kirtan and him leading the kirtan, he began to clap and sing. And I had this overwhelming sense that it was the holy names that he was connecting with, not himself, not the technology, not the TV, not the kirtan. He just was relishing again the kirtan, not in such a transcendental sense. And so that has stuck with me. I'll tell another short story connected to here. Remember, we came here a couple of years ago, I think it is, for the Saturday night talk. And maybe I got the time wrong or whatever, but I got here early, everything was locked. Hopefully now it's not as... But, and so we were waiting outside, and one lady approaches, and she says, well, I live here, and I've seen that sometimes this door is, they're inside, the outside is locked, but they're inside and you can get through this door. So she came, and we knocked on the door, but no, that's right. It was Thai. You might have met her. So we got to talking, and she described how, as a little girl, 1965, she used to live in the Alphabet City, and so her father had a car and was driving with her down the Bowery. And she looks out the window of her car and sees an elderly man dressed in orange walking down the street, playing on cymbals, alone, and singing, doing Sankirtan. Somehow she caught his eye and he looked over and smiled and waved. That stuck with her ever since. But this mood of Prabhupada, Kirtan, with or without anyone, if there were people there or no people there. I heard once that someone in Vrindavan, you recalled how that sometimes Srila Prabhupada would go across the Jamuna after sannyas. He had a danda. He would take his only companion was his danda. He would take his danda, put it in the sand, and just chant Hare Krishna around his danda. So Sankirtan is the energy, the thread. I'll end with just one more little story about this. Well, we know how Srila Prabhupada ends his prayer, Bhagavad, Markine Bhagavad Dharma. He says, I don't know why you brought me here for some purpose. I don't know why. But you must have some purpose. I've been designated as Bhakti Vedanta, and if you like, he's speaking with Krishna, you can reveal the real purport of this. And then he concludes his poem saying, Bhakti nai Vedanai Nam Kubda. I have no bhakti, I have no knowledge, but I have firm faith in your holy name. Last little snippet, related by Prabhupada's godbrother, Krishnadas Babaji. I love telling this story. Many of you probably heard. This was at Prabhupada's sannyas initiation in 1959. So the yajna is being performed. There's a priest there performing the yajna, beginning the mantras. And Krishnadas Babaji tells how he was chanting, and he explains that, like I do, sometimes I chant a bit loud. And the priest who was conducting intoning the mantras, motions over to Krishnadas Babaji and said, like this. A little softer. And Krishnadas Babaji looks over at, I think he called him Swami Maharaj, looks over at Prabhupada, and Prabhupada looks at him and goes like this. And Krishnadas Babaji says, I knew then he would do it. He would spread Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement everywhere. And here we are. He did it. He did it. Now it's up to us to keep it going. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Wow. Thank you both very, very much for that wonderful sharing. I'll never forget full salt milk powder.
Isn't it in fact, I mean, I know that here in America, it's very difficult to get full cream powder. It's all skim milk, right?
You can't get it.
You can't get it now?
But then,
His Grace Pancharatna Prabhu Ki.
Yeah.
Atitaguna Devi Ki.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have two other wonderful speakers we'd like to invite to please come up. I have a little introduction for them. You can also correct me if I'm wrong. Who should I introduce first? Okay. So Rukmini Devi, who's taking the stage, was initiated in 1968. She's also the founder of the Urban Devi Collective, on the board of directors, who was for the Bhakti Center. Popular speaker who has addressed many different kinds of groups, including many interfaith programs the world over. She provides much guidance for many, many young ladies embarking upon and establishing themselves on the path of bhakti across the planet. And we're very fortunate and blessed to have her here. She's very loving, kind-hearted, beautiful soul, a well-wisher. So we're very grateful to have her here with us, Rukmini Devi. And she's accompanied by her loyal husband, His Grace Anuttama, who's initiated in 1976, member of the GB. 75? 76. It's hard to remember these things. He's a member of the GBC for over 20 years and was International Communications Director for more years than we can count on our hands and toes. Very involved with the interfaith programs and organizing retreats for devotees all over the world. Also teaching, much teaching, and teaching the Leadership and Management course, which I was fortunate to attend early on. And also very wonderful, kind-hearted, loving soul, and well-wisher. So we're very blessed to have you both here with us this evening. And I'll pass the mic over to you.
As you heard, Rukmini came many years before I did, so I want to make sure she knows lots of wonderful pastime stories. I appreciated that Pancharatna started with talking about the 7 purposes, and maybe I'll just mention a little bit that this building, I think, as we said, more and more in the future, and by Krishna's grace, hopefully we can get this in perpetuity. But there are people come from all around the world, and sometimes they can't get inside. Maybe they stand outside or whatever. But they, like you said, they just cry when everything happened. And so many people walk by, they don't know the significance of this. This place is famous all over the world. In Russia, in China, in South America, in Africa, Australasia. It's like 22nd Avenue. Everybody knows this is where Prabhupada started his movement. So it really is a very special historical place. I was actually thinking during Pancharatna's remarks, someone crossed my mind, I never thought it before, how difficult in one sense it must have been for Prabhupada to leave here and to go to San Francisco. Because here, everybody, because of his presence, there were some commitment to Krishna consciousness. They would come and hear his classes, and he would catch them occasionally down the street. I don't know where it was, but there was a donut store somewhere nearby. And described that early on, Prabhupada would sometimes walk by to look in the window to see if any devotees were in the donut shop.
It wasn't the same donut plant that's...
No, the donut plant's good. Go to the donut plant, that's good. But they would duck, and Prabhupada would come by. So they really needed his inspiration. So I was just thinking, imagine what it was. Prabhupada had planted the seed of Krishna consciousness here, in this place. It was so hard. And the devotees, as described, they thought he was the Lower East Side Swami, and that was it. He was theirs. And I don't know what they thought about the future. You know, at 20 years old, the future's like a month and a half away. But Prabhupada, as you mentioned, was thinking way in the future. And when he went to San Francisco, there must have been yet again another test for him to see, have they really taken it up? How will they survive if I'm not here? I've got to go, I've got to try to spread it further. But will they be able to continue? And of course, we know they did, and kept things going on here in San Francisco and then in Montreal, where Rukmini first met Prabhupada, and from there all around the world. So then, I'm sure that at that point he really had seen firsthand that confidence, that the potency, that he had faith in, of course, but to see it actually happen, that these young Americans coming from such atrocious backgrounds, according to Vaishnava culture, but could continue even after he wasn't physically here. And as we all know, it wasn't like you picked up, you know, these days you just send a text, you send a WhatsApp message, you send a video. It wasn't like that. Things, even phone calls were very expensive. There were a few telexes and things which were also expensive. So he was here, and then he went from here to San Francisco. And the one story that I'll just mention, and hope, again, you give a lot. The manager pointed in Leelamrit to the great source, and I hope everybody here, please read that book many times. It talks about here, and of course, Mukunda Maharaj's book talks about here, and others probably that maybe I haven't read. But the owner at one point in time was Mr. Chuti. Chutey, I believe, and described that Mr. Chuti didn't like the devotees. They were kind of like young, crazy, hippies, former hippies, undependable, whatever. But he liked Prabhupada a lot. And I think Prabhupada probably maybe turned on the extra charm to keep Mr. Chuti happy. And it's described in the Lilamrita. I actually wrote Satsrup Maharaj and I didn't get a response asking where did that part of the history, who remembered that? Maybe it's recorded someplace. But it's explained that Prabhupada would help Mr. Chuti take out the neighbor's garbage, which just really struck me. Because, we know Prabhupada as the founder of a great international movement, the author of so many books. He came here at such a distinguished age and traveled all around the world. But he was here, and we can just imagine, in those days, nobody really likes to take out the trash. But these days we have plastic bags, right? Everybody puts their trash in the plastic. There were no plastic bags in those days. Trash meant the metal trash can, and everything obnoxious and horrible went in the metal trash can. And the neighbors weren't all vegetarians, we can be sure. And those trash cans in the summer must have been pretty horribly disgusting. And I don't know the details, but Prabhupada, just his nature and his willingness to really seeing himself as the servant of the servant of the servant, understanding how he was establishing this outpost of Krishna consciousness in such a foreign place, and that his relationship with Mr. Chuti was so important that we can't understand everything was going on in Prabhupada's mind. But most of us, raise your hand if you've helped take out the trash of the neighbors in this place in the last 40 years. Anybody? Is that any time?
I've cleaned up some trash.
He's cleaned up some. It's probably devotee trash. This is the neighbors. It just made me think a little bit more about what a superhuman being he was on top of the great founder Charya, that he would do something like that. And he came from Vrindavan. These are like horrible, untouchable things. You don't, higher class people don't touch the garbage of lower class people. Pure vegetarians don't touch anything that was touched like that, meat and all. And again, metal trash cans in those days were horrible. Just as an example of how he would do anything to spread Krishna consciousness and try to, take the role of a humble servant and try to be bent over backwards, as we like to say in English, to try to spread Krishna consciousness for us. So just one of the many, many, many stories about Prabhupada, things that he did.
Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chaksimanitamini Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Prabhupada. You just reminded me of a story I hadn't thought of in a long time. You were comparing this temple and San Francisco, and so I first came to Krishna consciousness in 1968 in the San Francisco temple, and I came with to Montreal to the devotees who were on their way to London to open spread Krishna consciousness in London. Were going to get Prabhupada's blessings in Montreal. So the famous six and one baby, Mukunda, Janaki, Yamuna, Gurdas, Malati, and Shamasundar, baby Saraswati. And so, the story I don't want to forget to tell, so you were kind of making this comparison. It was a very different mood here from San Francisco. But so one of the people who came with them and with me was my dear friend Saradia, who she was the same age as me. I was 16, and she was coming, and we were planning to go to Boston to learn to paint for Prabhupada's books. So anyway, she was a very kind of ethereal, but they used to hold a plate with candles on it and just kind of dance like this, and maybe circle it around. Anyway, Prabhupada came to 26 Second Avenue, and he was telling me, mostly all brahmacharis or men, whatever, maybe they weren't brahmacharis yet, but he was telling them about her. And he said, there is one young girl in San Francisco. And he went like this, like he was going to faint. And he said, she practically faints in kirtan. So, there was a certain mood there and a certain mood here. But yeah, that was a sweet story. But so, so I came to Krishna consciousness there and then went to Montreal with them, and then I was here. So then Prabhupada came down here to New York for some time, and we all came here to 26 2nd Avenue for some time, and then I was here again in 1960. That was 68. I was here again in 1969. But I remember, I may be wrong, but I think, so our deity of Madan Mohan, who we're worshiping in Potomac, Maryland now, he was here. So the devotees in London always say that Radha Londoneshwar was the first deity in ISKCON. But I think Madan Mohan was first, and unless I'm wrong, I think he was here on this wall, but he was really high. They had him up on a Haribol, welcome. They had him up on a high shelf over here on this side, and but nobody really knew anything about deity worship or deities or how to.
Should we ask everybody to move up? There's a lot
Yeah,
of room
there's
up in the
lots
front
of
here.
room up here. I was thinking that. So.
This is how it was when Prabhupada was here. First back.
So the devotees knew that they were supposed to close his curtains before everyone would take prasadam in here. So they knew they were supposed to. Haribol Vasudev Prabhu. They knew they were supposed to close his curtains before taking prasadam, but everyone would kind of forget. And so what I remember, one experience I remember is everyone's taking prasadam and kind of look up and, oh, we forgot to close the curtains. And so they kind of lick their fingers and, close the curtains. And that's what I remember. But anyway, he's being worshipped very nicely, very beautifully in Washington, Potomac, Maryland now.
Pujaris don't lick their fingers.
And the pujaris don't lick their fingers.
Not anymore.
But let's see, I wanted to share one thing I remember. So at that time there was a women's ashram on 6th Street. And I was staying there for a while, and the neighborhood was so bad. I mean, right now, let's face it, everyone, this area is so gentrified. You have to really be quite well off to afford an apartment around here, right?
Right.
But at that time, it was really rough. And this women's ashram on 6th Street, we used to hear the junkies screaming on the roof at night. It was really, really, really a rough neighborhood. So I remember that. And so let's see. Well, I wanted to share a few stories, but I wanted to share, when should I do this? I wanted to share one story I don't think any of you have ever heard before. I just heard this the other day from my god sister and friend Kalindi, who was married to Rupanuga. And so this story took place in another part of New York, in Buffalo, New York. And I just thought it was really sweet to share it, so I wanted to share it with you. She says, my favorite story is when Srila Prabhupada visited Buffalo in April 1969. Her son, Kendra, was 4. I think there's you mentioned wisdom, that we were going to hear some wisdom tonight, so I think there's a lot of wisdom in this story. So she says, on Prabhupada's last night there, Ekendra and I took our leave. After we left, Ekendra started sobbing uncontrollably because Srila Prabhupada was leaving. I couldn't console him. Although it was late, I took Ekendra back to where Srila Prabhupada was staying. When we got there, I explained the situation to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada then said he would take Ekendra with him. This is Srila Prabhupada. He said he would take Ekendra with him. And Brahmananda, who was serving Prabhupada at that time, he said Brahmananda would take care of him. She says, Brahmananda visibly blanched. He went white. He wasn't prepared to take care of a young child. And then she says, then Srila Prabhupada started chuckling, knowing Brahmananda wasn't up to the task. Meanwhile, Ekendra finally stopped crying, Brahmananda hugely relieved that he would not be responsible for a Kendra, and we were all smiling and happy. It was such a lovely moment. So you said that we were going to be sharing wisdom tonight. So the wisdom that I take from this story and I wanted to share is that if we cry for Krishna and Srila Prabhupada, then he will take us with him as he travels back to Krishna. And so I think that's really an important lesson. So yeah, I wanted to share that. And I have a couple of poems I wrote that I wanted to share. So this one is called 60 Years Ago. 60 years ago, he opened his shop, matchless gifts to be given for a farthing of faith. But who had faith? That he would also give. Matchless mercy, mothering us like blind newborns, our eyes tightly shut, as he fed us from his own hand. 60 years ago, he walked among us, so human yet so divine. His reality of another realm always. Tomorrow, we begin again, the first day of the future. And by the way we treat the people there, they will know how much Krishna loves them and how much he loves us. To open his shop 60 years ago. And then here's another one I just like to share. This one's called a tiny matchbox. That's what Prabhupada called the Jaladuta freighter ship that he traveled on, that it was being tossed in the waves of the Atlantic like a tiny matchbox. So, taking up Gauranga's order only just to please your guru, you walked the plank of the Jaladuta. Hearing our cries cross an ocean of tears, where is our guru and why are we here? Rocked by the great Atlantic, a tiny matchbox in its vastness, a pure devotee did aspire to please his guru and Sri Gora. 2 heart attacks and much more to bear. All 10 incarnations were manning the oar. Said the captain's wife, an intelligent woman. Prabhupada said she was an intelligent woman. You'll pass through great obstacles to success of your mission. If the Atlantic had shown its usual face, come with us always, so we will be graced. These days we fly, taking 16 hours, and where are our hearts for all you endured? You lifted us out of an ocean of death, aimless and suffering, with nowhere to rest. And on your head, you carried their order. Now what do we owe for this precious cargo? On our heads to take your burden, plying it forward to all who will listen. A tiny matchbox, your ardent desire. You ferry us to him, and we aspire to spark this flame into our hearts, the light of the Bhagavad that you impart. There's so many stories, but I think you want more stories?
Yes.
More stories? Okay.
Tell us about the previous temple.
Oh yeah, I wanted to share the other temple stories. But wait, there's first one I want to share this one. It's a little bit quirky, but forgive me. But anyway, so 1968, 69, this was the time of the Beatles, right? And when the Beatles would perform young girls would be shrieking like that, you know. And so when I came here, there were some young girls here from New York that were the same age as me. And when Prabhupada would be walking down the street from a walk and coming up Second Avenue, coming down Second Avenue, they would be shrieking like that.
Just like that.
Swamiji, Swamiji, just shrieking, you know. And I mean, I was a little embarrassed, you know. I mean, I was the same age as them, but anyway.
What would he do?
Well, that's what I'm going to tell you. This is so sweet. So, you know, he was tolerating it, right? But then at one point, he brought them into his quarters, the apartment back there, and he told them, "You are the children of the society, so you must be very grave. You must be very grave." And then they stopped doing it. It was very, so tender, you know, so loving, you know. But so the other story I wanted to tell is, so this was in 1969, so they acquired, so I received Gayatri second initiation at 61 Second Avenue, which is now the Gray Mare Tavern.
Right.
Oh, it changed? I was looking for the sign.
Someone else took it over.
Really? Is it what?
Montigo or something. Bar
Really?
Montigo.
Well, at 60, you can fold your hands when you walk by because that was the second temple after this temple. So, yeah, so what happened? So it had been a tuxedo shop. So it had mirrors on the walls. It was a nicer storefront, but it was a storefront. And so the devotees in charge here were writing. Prabhupada was in Europe for a long time, and they were writing to Prabhupada saying, "Prabhupada, our new temple is like a palace. You're just going to love it. It's a palace." And I was thinking, oh no, what's Prabhupada going to do? Is he going to be angry? Is he going to be disappointed when he comes and he sees it's just another a nicer storefront, but just another storefront on Second Avenue? So I was really apprehensive about what was he going to do. So he came, and this really shows the heart of Srila Prabhupada. So he's comes in, he's looking around with his beautiful lotus glance, looking around, you know. And then he sat down on his Vyasa-san, and he said, I prayed to Krishna to send me one moon. I did not want so many stars. I just wanted one moon. You know, get the point. He wasn't looking to create masses of followers. He wanted people who would take it to their hearts seriously. Anyway, so he said, I prayed to Krishna to send me one moon. I did not want so many stars. And then he said, with such gratitude for our little nothing that we were offering, he said, but Krishna has sent me so many moon-like boys and girls. So I think if we're going to try to emulate the mood of Prabhupada, it's a mood of immense gratitude for something so small, you know. So, and I really believe that that's the way to faith and trust and sadhu sangha and all the other processes that we aspire for. So, yeah, I think that's an important story. Time's up. One more story?
One more story.
Okay. Well, okay. Pancharatna, Atitaguna Prabhus were speaking about Mayapur, so I'll tell a really sweet Mayapur story that, you know, in general in Prabhupada's pastimes, the ladies would clean Prabhupada's room and then scurry out before he would come back from his walk. And so one morning I was cleaning Prabhupada's room in Mayapur, and just next, so he had a very nice box on his desk that was covered with cloth and kind of nice little, you know, decorative glittering stones, and it had sweets in it in the box. He would give sweets to his guests when when someone would come, he would give a sweet, right? So there was this nice box on his desk, and then on his, right next to him on the floor next to his desk, there was this kind of soggy cardboard box from the sweet shop that was, had rasgulla juice and kind of a mess, you know? So I thought, okay, I'll take this one down to the kitchen and they can put these rasgullas and sweets on Prabhupada's plate when they serve him his meal. And so, and then, you know, I cleaned and then left. And so then I got this message that when Prabhupada came back, he wanted to know who had cleaned his room and where are my sweets? Have you heard this one before? Anyway, where are my sweets, right? So they tracked me down. I was in the women's ashram or something, you know. So I came and offer obeisances, and you know, sometimes with Srila Prabhupada, you're offering obeisances and he's speaking to you while you don't know whether to offer obeisances, and he was in a very grandfatherly, sweet mood, and his eyes were sparkling, and he was saying, "Where are my sweets?" And I said, "Oh, Srila Prabhupada, I brought them down." At that time, his dear godbrother, Anand Maharaj, was cooking for him. And he had cooked for Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He was a wonderful, humble Vaishnava. Actually, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur had given him an instruction to feed all the residents of Vrindavan. And at one time when I was in Vrindavan, after he would make extra chapatis, and then after prasadam, he would break them into little pieces, and I would help him, and for the peacocks and the other animals. And, you know, if the pieces I was breaking were too big, he would go, small. But anyway, he's a wonderful, saintly Vaishnava. So he was down there cooking. So I said, Srila Prabhupada, I brought the box that was a little bit of a mess that was on the floor. I brought it down to the kitchen so those sweets could be put on your plate. I gave them to Anand Maharaj, and Srila Prabhupada said, "Oh, you have not eaten any?" And I said, "Oh no, Srila Prabhupada, I didn't eat it." And he said, "Go get them, I want to see." So I had to go down to the kitchen, you know, which is down below, and bring back the box. And Srila Prabhupada was aware of everything. He was aware of everything. I mean, there's a story of Yamuna Devi cleaning Prabhupada's room, and she was paka clean, expert at cleaning. And he opened like a lighter or something, and showed her, he was so impeccably clean, you know. Anyway, so he knew exactly how many sweets were in that box. So he had me go down, I had to bring back the box, and he counted them, and he said, "Yes, you have not eaten any." And he was laughing. It was really beautiful. And there was a room full of, distinguished, I remember Shamsundar was there, a room full of distinguished Indian gentlemen. Here I am. So that was a sweet story.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Sure. I think that was the sweet note. And, thank you for that.
The way you described it. Where are my sweets?
So feeling very grateful. There's actually, you were mentioning Mother Mohan, there's pictures at the back that show them, actually after Prabhupada was traveling, that they set up the altar here. It seemed like the altar maybe was there at one point.
Here?
Yeah, in the pictures it's here. But, and also I've been informed that, of course, coming from London, I'm thinking Radhakrishna was the first full-size, and Radharani was the first full-size deity, so I was reminded of it. But I was told that the Chota Radhakrishna deities at Brooklyn, that they were the first deities, and Prabhupada brought them back after he went to India, and after he had destroyed.
They were back. I remember doing.
But evidently he installed them here, and then after someone said after about 2 weeks, that he said no too many people are coming and going, and he took them back and he kept them there, but they're still being worshipped. Very powerful, beautiful deities there. So I think they're the first Ramakrishna deities, but Madam Mohan, I think.
There's a picture of Madame Mohan on this wall, like you said.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Yeah, I think he's done it all.
Okay.
Honestly, he wasn't really being worshipped.
Raghunath Maharaj, would you like to say anything? Okay. So Maharaj will be speaking on other evenings. Just a couple of quick announcements, and then we're going to hear a little something from His Holiness Mukunda Maharaj. Actually, we'll go straight to that. Let's see. Is Jagannath Gopal here? Okay. So we were. I mentioned earlier we were attempting. Well, we didn't attempt. We contacted many senior devotees who were instrumental here in the early days, but aren't able to travel to be here with us. We were hoping that they would be able to be here. And if not, we were requesting if they could do some video presentation. Very unfortunately, most all of them couldn't. We were even in touch with Janaki, maybe, and she was saying she would try, but her health is also not so good. Mukunda Maharaj, also his health was going through challenges, and of course His Holiness Satsvarup Maharaj, we were trying for all of them. But in the absence, we have some little videos so that we can remember, especially Mukunda Maharaj, Michael Grant, Mr. Michael. I think we were hearing how Prabhupada would say Mr. Michael. He was instrumental in finding this place. In fact, we have some little books over here that show the actual original Village Voice newspaper, where inside of that you can see the article that advertises 26 Second Avenue and how much it was and was selling. And Mr. Gardner was the real estate agent and all of that. So that's all over here if anyone wants to see it later. So we know that His Holiness Mukunda Maharaj was instrumental. And of course, it was by his grace, as Rukmini Devi mentioned, that he went to San Francisco. So he went to San Francisco and fired up Shyam Sundar and Gurudas and Januna Devi and all of the devotees there, who then became instrumental in helping to spread it over and going to Montreal and then to London. Yes?
So this woman is warming up. Mukunda Maharaj tells a little story in his book, I believe, about how he was here. He had decided he wanted to go to India with his wife, and they weren't. Prabhupada wasn't so in favor of that, but he didn't say you shouldn't do that. But then when Mukunda came to see Prabhupada, his last visit, and he was on his way out the door, and Prabhupada said to him, he said, Mukunda, he said, yes, Swamiji. He said, maybe, I'm paraphrasing, maybe you can try to start one temple on the West Coast. And he's thinking India. And on the way out the door, Prabhupada ever so gently said, maybe you consider starting a temple on the West Coast. And that planted that thought that this is really what I should do, and actually, why do I need to go to India? India's here, like that. So that's how the second temple opened.
Thank you.
In 1966, in late May or June, early June, Prabhupada had been having some difficulties in the Bowery. He wasn't able to function the way he had wanted. And there was like a pressure on me to help do something to get him a better place. Because many of you know the story from the Prabhupada Lalita. But basically what happened is I felt that it was time for me to try to help, and I didn't know exactly how or what to do. So I went down to the Village Voice office, and right across from the Village Voice office was a little candy store. And I think it was Wednesday, one day a week, when the Village Voice came out once a week, this candy store would have the Village Voice there, right hot off the press. It was the first place you could get the Village Voice. I knew that because I used to look for apartments in the area and lots and places to live. So I got there bright and early, and as soon as the papers were delivered, I started looking for some kind of a place that might be suitable. Prabhupada's place was up in a loft on the Bowery, and it was very difficult to access. So I thought, all right, a ground floor place would be really good. So I just was going down the column, and it was either the first or maybe the second place that I called was this address, and it was a storefront for rent, 26 2nd Avenue. So I phoned, talked to the agent named Mr. Gardner, and straight away made an appointment to meet him, thinking that Srila Prabhupada would come and we'd have a look at it and see if it would be suitable. So that's actually what happened. We made arrangements to meet, and I got here a little bit earlier than Prabhupada, and he also came with another devotee, Karlapati. It was Carl Jurgens then. So I came early, and Mr. Gardner came. He was kind of a very sprightly looking youngish man. He was wearing tennis shoes and denims and a t-shirt and kind of good natured. So we had a little chat, and I told him about Prabhupada, that he was a scholar, that he was an author, that he was a spiritual leader, that he had given books that he had written to the Prime Minister of India and so on. So he was quite impressed. He liked the idea. He liked the idea of somebody like that having the opportunity to rent the storefront. So then Prabhupada came along with Carl. They were walking this way, up 26 2nd Avenue, and then we all made introductions. Then we came into this storefront and sat on that ledge just inside the window and had a discussion. I think there was one share maybe, and I remember sitting in that ledge, and the discussion was, could we rent this place? So Prabhupada had some very interesting things to say, but we did most of the talking. And the rent was $100 a month. And in the course of the conversation, I think he brought it up. There was an apartment available also in the same building through the courtyard on the other side. That would be available for $80 a month. So we began to talk, and the whole thing sounded like Prabhupada looked like this would be a suitable place. It would be accessible. So we had to have a little powwow right in front of Prabhupada and Mr. Gardner how we would pay the rent. So we just sort of said between us, Carl and I, that somehow we would pay the rent. Don't worry, it's not a problem. 100 plus 80. And Mr. Gardner said that he would paint this building, this flat, this apartment. He would repaint it white before, and that would take a few days. But then we would be ready because the storefront was available, the apartment was available, and that he could move in and start giving his classes. We kind of told him what was going to happen here, not in detail. We didn't talk about big harinams and mridungas and yoga classes. So at some point during the conversation, Prabhupada said that Mr. Carl, he used to call us by our first names with Mr. at the front end, Mr. Michael, they're members, they're trustees of our society. And then we got talking, a little more talking. Prabhupada had a set of Bhagavatams, the 3 Bhagavatam, the first canto, parts 1, 2, and 3. And he actually presented them to Mr. Gardner. He was a little, no, please take them. And Prabhupada signed them. And then the conversation, he was very kind of humbled by getting his books. He said, oh, I think it's very kind of you. I said, what a substantial gift for someone to get. And Prabhupada, of course, had that presence of being a very transcendental personality. He wasn't an ordinary person wearing his saffron and being very distinguished. So he took it as an honor. And then he began to talk more about how we were members of the society. So then he asked Mr. Gardner, he said, and we would also like you to be a trustee of our society. So he thought for a minute, and he kind of looked at the books, and he said, oh, okay. So he talked a little bit more about what Prabhupada was doing and how the movement was expanding, and how he liked America. And then he went on to say that Mr. Carl and Mr. Michael, they're trustees, and as all the trustees do, they pay a subscription of $20 a month. And we'd like you to participate in this way too. And he hesitated for a moment, but then he agreed. And of course, and then Prabhupada said, of course, it'll be easy for you if you just deduct it from the rent rather than have to pay it. So, he immediately I really can't remember whether it was 120 or 100, but he took it off immediately, and he was a little bit taken aback, but he kind of knew that was the deal, and by the time all was said and done, he was in very good spirits. Before Prabhupada moved in, he asked me to go down to Con Edison and see if he could get the lights and whatever else Con Edison supplied them for free, because it was a charitable organization, not a commercial venture. So I toddled on down to Con Edison office and explained that we were going to rent this storefront, and our Swami is going to rent an apartment, and because it's a charitable organization, we'd like to have it get the deposit waived. That's what Prabhupada actually wanted, because there's a fairly, for us, a substantial deposit required. So I was kind of like talking to a brick wall. I just, we don't make those kind of arrangements. You just have to pay like everybody else. You have to pay a deposit for the apartment and the storefront. So I wasn't a very daring and active devotee in those days. Not that I am now, but I really just, okay, well, that's the system, that's the way it is. So when I reported this back to Prabhupada, he wasn't very happy at all. It's like, hey, what's wrong with you? So what eventually happened was Prabhupada went down there himself, at least so I was told, and somehow convinced them to waive the deposits on the utilities in this building, these two places. Then when things started happening here in 22nd Avenue in a very short time, extremely short time from my view, over a period of maybe 1 or 2 weeks, this very dingy place was completely transformed. Carpets were brought in, tapestries, paintings were hung on the wall, and it was filled up within a matter of days with people. And one of them, of course, was Allen Ginsberg, who everyone was, wow, Allen Ginsberg, it's big time. And it inspired everybody to come more and to take part, and to take part in the kirtans. And I know that Prabhupada would be extremely proud and thrilled, actually, and I know he is, to see us here today, and to see all this wonderful memorabilia on the walls, to see how it's been so nicely renovated, and to preserve how it's preserving the beginnings of Krishna consciousness, really the beginnings of Krishna consciousness spreading outside of India.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Mukunda Maharaj ki jai. So yeah, it says, I showed here, it says it was $125 a month was guaranteed. So Prabhupada got 20 off immediately. So I'll just very quickly read something I'd like to share with everyone that we received just a day ago from Nestor Portico, who is the landlord and owner of the property currently. So we wrote to him to let him know in advance that there were going to be loud mridangas, lots of devotees singing and dancing, so that he could let everyone know. Excuse me. So he wrote back and he said, and also that it was the 60th anniversary and how grateful we were to be able to be here at this time. He says, "Dear friends, as the current owner and landlord of 26 2nd Avenue, I would like to extend my heartfelt congratulations to everyone at ISKCON on the occasion of your 60th anniversary in the United States. It is truly an honor to be the steward of the building where A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada established ISKCON in 1966, beginning a spiritual movement that has touched the lives of millions of people around the world. Although many years have passed since these historic beginnings, 26 2nd Avenue remains a place of deep significance. I am grateful that this building continues to be connected with such an enduring legacy of faith, devotion, and service. As your week-long celebration begins, I wish all of you a joyful and memorable anniversary, filled with gratitude, inspiration, and the company of friends and devotees from near and far. Please accept my very best wishes for a wonderful celebration and for many more years of continued success in sharing Srila Prabhupada's teachings and the message of peace throughout the world. Warm regards, Nestor.
This is the landlord?
This is the owner, yeah.
Yeah, it's just like there's no other landlord like that in the whole world.
He remembers Prabhupada from when he was a little boy.
Really?
Yeah. Fond memories.
His father?
His father, yeah.
Okay, so we're going to conclude with a few thank yous. Also, a few mentions. A lot of books were mentioned. We actually do have a few. It's out of print now. We've managed to secure them from Radhadesh. We have copies of the original 3 Bhagavatam set, the first canto in three parts, that the BBT reproduced in the early 2000s. His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj Ki. So that was reproduced then. So we do have some copies. They're out of print, but we've secured a few copies. We also have copies of Srila Prabhupada's diary from 1966, again, which is out of print, but we've been able to secure some copies of that. So we have all of these, and it was mentioned the Leelamrita. We do have a copy of the Leelamrita, and we also have the abridged version, Your Ever Well-Wisher, if anyone is interested in any of these books. Or if anyone would like to make a contribution or volunteer for some service throughout the week. Thank you very much for being here, Maharaj. Okay, so we would like to mention some of our volunteers for the day. We had guest reception. The shop front is open all day, so anyone who's in New York at this time, if you would like to come and be here during the day, spend time with Srila Prabhupada, chant, hear, read, whatever you would like to do, well, almost whatever you would like to do, please come. We had Gaur Kumar Prabhu here today, Jagannath Gopal, and Bhakta Arya Prabhu. Garland making, these beautiful garlands were made by our wonderful devotees at the Bhakti Center, Padma Malini Devi and Lama. Prasadam, which we'll be honoring here in a few moments, was prepared by Raj Lakshmi Devi, Gopi Pranadhan Prabhu, Bhima Pran Prabhu, Amar Krishna Prabhu, Sanyas Prabhu, and Dinamani Prabhu. We would like to thank the Bhakti Center for providing prasadam throughout this week of events and wonderful collaboration. The evening event, we've got Sundari Saki, Gaur Kumar Prabhu, Newport, then we have our prasadam servers and cleaner uppers. We also have some donors who helped out, some anonymous donors, but we have Prem Niketan Prabhu from London, and Yadunath Prabhu, not the Yadunath here, but another Yadunath, also from London, who donated, and also Bhakta Ari, all who gave some contribution for tonight. And yeah, I'm just remembering that if we cry for Srila Prabhupada, he will take us with him. Srila Prabhupada ki. So, yes, Anuttama Gosai. Oh, thank you, I forgot. I saw the sign.
One other announcement. We know that in Christian consciousness there's many different rasas, and this is kind of like the Vrindavan ras. This is where we worship Krishna in a very simple mood, and we really appreciate what the devotees have done to create this very simple mood again for us. We also know, if you read some of the histories, when Prabhupada went to London, for instance, the devotees would regularly, we would use the term then maybe today, crash the party of some very prestigious events, you know, black tie and ladies in full gowns and all that. So we're recreating that mood for this special event coming up on the 31st of this month. We just want to invite all of you to consider coming. The person, Pancharatna Prabhu, who's in charge of the Anantacharya Prabhu, who's in charge of the entertainment for the evening, is here. and some others of us who are involved in that. So we have a little sign here about that. It's a special one evening event from 6 until 10. It's like the real classy stuff, like waiters walking around with platters of hors d'oeuvres. The Indian ambassadors coming. If any of you are like of an older generation, Hema Malini, the dream girl actress from India, she's coming. She'll be there. We have an archbishop from India who's a friend of our movement who's coming. A lot of professors, a lot of leaders of different faith traditions, government people, as well as many Prabhupada disciples. And 4 Radhanath Swami speaking, 4 other sannyasis will be present. So it's a very special event, so tickets are there. Now the tickets, I should mention, I did some research. You can get a ticket for this event 25% of what it would cost you to go to a Taylor Swift concert. So these are cheap. These are really cheap. Much cheaper than Hamilton. So many different things that you may want to consider doing here in New York. So they're cheap. The tickets are relatively cheap. A lot more than the donations that are requested tonight for this event. It's a different rasa. But any of you that would like to come, it's limited, 300, 400 people. It's a very special event. A lot of the temples have sponsored. Actually, the cost of the tickets, which is $300 or $525 for a couple, is less than it costs us to do the event. So it's at the Glass House. I've heard that in New York, the Glass House is a pretty well-known place. At least that's what our musical director has told us, maybe just to convince me to get more sponsorships. I'm not sure. But it's a very, very nice venue. So I encourage all of you. We have some tickets here tonight. You can talk to me. We've got tickets if you'd like to come. It'd be really wonderful to have you there. Okay? And this is the poster, a little bit talk about it. Hema Malini Radhanath Swami Gorbani. Some of you have heard Gorbani's Kirtans. He'll be doing the kind of conclusion of the whole event. Some of the other musicians and dancers that you want to mention in the evening? Who else?
We have a couple of our devotees from around the world who are very accomplished. They're very accomplished violinists. Prashana Priya. We have the lead for India that is helping us with the production also. So it's a very high class event.
It's a very high class event. So if you feel like you'd like to experience the mood of Krishna and Dwarka, as well as Krishna and Vrindavan, please come and we have that experience for you as well. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare Krishna, thank you. So, do we have Kirtan? Just go straight to Prasadam. So we have Kirtan? Go for Prasadam. Yes, Kirtan. Okay. Before we have Kirtan, we have one garland left, and I was thinking, now who is this garland for? But I would like to request Amanavadana Prabhu, if you could please come forward. We have a garland for you. He's one of the directors here of 26th Avenue. If you would like to.
And one of the sponsors of the special.
Oh, well, there you go. So we're going to have Pancharatna Prabhu lead us in a 5-minute kirtan, and we'll ask everyone to stand up, stretch your legs, and maybe we'll see if he can follow.